I was open to do something longer. And then there, I don't know, I did the first feature film. And I even remember for me, it wasn't like, it, I didn't treat this project as like my big feature film, but it was just something I did, and I made many mistakes, and I learned from it. And I feel like every movie is like I'm always learning from my own movies, and then after I do a movie, I'm like, oh, now I know how to do my next movie. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're from Switzerland. You had your grandmother in Kenya. You have a bunch of family in Kenya. So how did your family how did that inform you in the making of this story?
This story here.
Yes, Bara Yamashika
Mhm.
or Afro.
Yeah. The actually in 2020 when I did my first feature in Kenya, it was a phase where I got to know my mother much better because I only knew my mother from my birth on. I didn't know her life before, and I grew up in Switzerland, and I just knew my mother from Switzerland, but then I never knew about her life in Kenya. And I feel like during this time, I was very like I was very interested in her life. And then when I was at my grandmother's place, of course, she showed me so many pictures, and they told me so many stories, and this influenced this movie very much. Because I feel also my mother also had, like when she was younger, she knew she wants to go abroad. She doesn't want to live in Kenya, and in this way, this influences very much the movie. But then the relationship between Aisha and her mother is very similar to the relationship between me and my mother.
Wow, wow. So yeah, the conversation between Africa and Europe is a constant thing in this film. Also, African cinema, it's been something that's been tackled constantly. Um, yeah, so I just want to ask, what was your experiences like going to Kenya? How was that different from Switzerland, and also did that help you improve your eye? Just seeing new scenery, new landscapes in Kenya, was that good for your cinema?
Yes, that helped a lot actually. Like just going to a place where you never lived before helps a lot. And I feel like with my first feature film, I just captured Kenya as it is. But then with this movie, I tried to also romanticize a little bit the place, just like how a child would see it. So I didn't show the town of Watamu, but I only showed the village side, and I wanted it to be very colorful, especially, yeah, just like through Aisha's eyes. And I feel like my the first question was, what was the first question? I forgot.
Just how you were coming to Kenya, and your experiences there for the first time, and how seeing this new landscape,
Yeah.
scenery, how that might have improved your cinematography, just giving you a new sort of
Yeah.
eye for everything.
Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, it helped a lot that I didn't grow up there. And after I decided to show a specific part of this world in this movie, and to romanticize it also a little bit, I tried also back in Switzerland to view Switzerland not through my eyes, but through the eyes of another person. Because, for example, the Swiss mountains, like for me, it's casual, and like most filmmakers in Switzerland, they would try to hide the mountains because they want it to be very Hollywood-like. But then I tried to view it as somebody would view it from the outside. They would actually show the mountains, like I do this, like the same way I do in this movie. Like I show those things I love about Kenya, but maybe some person who grew up there wouldn't see it. For example, the beach and the sea. Like most people on the coast, they can't swim, and the sea is just it's they don't look it, they don't romanticize it like I do.
Yeah, cool. That's
Yeah.
that's awesome. So excuse me. So you could have shot a film in Switzerland. You mentioned your family, your grandma in Kenya. I was just wondering why was it important for you to make this film in Kenya, and why was it important for you to shoot it in Swahili?
I mean, it's inspired by the story of my mother, so it had to be there. um, and I don't know, it's something, especially since the very first time I was in Kenya. This was like a thing which it sparked something in me, and I started having so much interest not only in the life of my mother, but just like the Kenya just as Kenya. um, and so I felt like it had to be a story which is told in Kenya, and then the Swahili was also very important to me because I just wanted it to be authentic. But actually, the funny thing was I wrote the script, and I wrote the script in English, and then the husband of my cousin, he helped me translating it in Swahili. And but then my Swahili is very, very bad. And the funny thing is, in Kenya, the Swahili of the people is also broken. Like Tanzanian Swahili is very good Swahili. So it was, even for him or for everybody in the crew, it was difficult to translate some of the words. And I didn't want it. I just wanted it to be very natural, just how the people speak. But then, since I told him I wanted to be in Swahili, they really tried to, like, even all of them, even the fisherman was also, they were just helping translating. And so in this aspect, it is less like people talk in Kenya and more like more the way like people talk in for example Tanzania. It's because it's only Swahili. Yeah.
Yeah, the performances were amazing, very natural. So I commend you on that. How did you extract those performances from? And most of them were non-actors.
Yeah. The only actress, or the only person who went to like a acting theater, like to a theater acting class or something, was the mother. But then the rest of them, they were people they were mostly my neighbors from Kenya, like my auntie's neighbors, and then many family, like many people were actually a part of her family. And I always worked with like non-professional actors, so for me it's something very something which comes very natural, and you just have to adjust very much to how they are and how they act, because you can't have like a vision. You can't have like a very specific vision, because otherwise they will be not able to translate your vision, and then it won't work. But you just have to adapt to what they give to you. Yeah, and I was very, very lucky with Aisha. She was such a good actress, and it always felt very real with her. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. She didn't have much experience, right?
Yeah, none.
Yeah, but she did amazing.
Yeah.
She really did.
And actually, with her, like, we shot 6 weeks, and 4 weeks she went to school. After like during 4 weeks she went to school. So after the school we picked her up, and then we always shot for like 1 hour, and then and then she went home. So we only shot like an hour a day. And during this hour, while I was building the camera, she was like learning the lines, but she didn't got the script. Only it was only when she saw the movie where she was like, oh wow, she gets it now. um and and then of course I knew like how what would work and what wouldn't work because I had the script in mind. But then she just learned the lines some like while I was building up sometimes, and then and yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she did great.
Yeah.
So we are men. I'm a filmmaker. So how I just want to know about this experience writing this 11-year-old girl protagonist. I think you did an amazing job. Just giving a natural character. And just tapping into her feelings. I think the women and the girls of the audience will be able to tell us better, but I think you did a great job. So how were you able to do that, and how did you decide on having an 11-year-old girl protagonist?
Actually, first I decided to have an 11-year-old protagonist, and then the challenge came later. But then it was like in your head you have like those little ideas, and then they are very very simple. And while you are writing the screenplay, it evolves. It gets more complex and more complex. And it's always, I feel like my writing process is always that way, that I start from a very simple idea, and then maybe I have many ideas, or it's very complex, and then I share it with people and they give me their feedback, and then I learn from the feedback very often. And so yeah, I don't know, it's like most of the times, even with my second feature, it was the same way. I wrote something, I gave it to like to people for feedback, and then I learned something through the feedback, and then I put this learning process also into the movie. Like maybe the main character is learning this, even though I was just learning it through writing the script. Yeah. So it's yeah.
Cool. So I have 2 more questions, and then we'll open up to the audience. I don't think we have much time. So the music was amazing. The score. Yeah, where did you especially the after the long range song? Where did you come up with this?
That's a crazy story, because I didn't had like, actually for the music I had no budget. And then I thought I will do it myself. That's what I tried. But then there were a few scores which I knew I really would want to have like strings, and my program can't do natural strings, so I asked a composer which did the music for my second feature, and then I asked him, and I hope that he will maybe find 4 friends, which will maybe do like a quartet, like 4 strings, but then he somehow managed, and this was so crazy, he went to music school during this time, and he managed to organize 40 people instead of 4 people. And then he had like actually a very big orchestra, and then I gave him many more tracks, because at the beginning he only had like 3, and at the end he had half of it. And then I did like more the African percussion stuff and the guitar stuff, and he had all those beautiful he made all those beautiful string scores. But I was just very lucky there. Yeah.
And you wrote the after the long range song?
I wrote the lyrics like in English. Then I asked somebody to translate. And and then it didn't work, and then he's also song a singer. It's actually Quito, the guy who plays Quito, the drunk guy with the hole in the boat, and then but then he somehow reorganized it, and then he made this song.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, it was very poetic,
Yeah.
especially a lot of the writing and the narration.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. So there were a couple of symbols in the film, motifs, the golden fish and the paper boat. Yeah, I just want to ask if you can, elaborate on this. This is especially the last scene was incredible. I just want to know about your inspiration behind it. Yeah.
For me, it's like it's very clear for me. Like I think you can interpret many things into the movie, but then for me, I have a very clear interpretation. And for me, it's like if you would reduce the movie into one sentence, then it would be, you can reach your dreams, but you have to be patient. And she at the beginning always believes that you can reach your dreams, and then the fisher guy teaches her that you have to be patient. Subira, yes, and then she teaches him that there is a difference between patience and laziness, and his dream was always to prove that there is a fish, that there is this golden fish which his father searched for, and so at the end somehow his dream somehow comes true, even though he's not alive anymore. And then with her dream was always to come to Europe to see snow and to be an actress. And at the very end, you see the snow, which is like maybe she will go to Europe, most likely.
Which has happened before in Kenya. I've heard about snow.
Yeah.
In Kenya.
And even the fisher says, because that's also a thing of like, she's also somehow idolizing Europe, because even the fisher is telling her that there is also that he saw snow, and she's like, oh, what, you were in Europe? And then he just told her no, he saw it in Mount Kenya, and I mean in Kenya there is a lot of snow. You just have to go up the mountains, and it's so and it tastes like nothing. It's something we also have. It's not something you'll find there, which is also a metaphor.
So I think it's my last question. So you shared a story with me earlier about that you actually got arrested on the set.
Yeah.
So and your cousin helped get you out. I want you to elaborate on just the community building during the filming, and some of the hiccups you might have had, and how you overcame that with your Kenyan family.
Yeah, I got arrested because I didn't have a shooting license. And my but then somehow, I don't know, throughout the shoot, with those people I worked with, we just bonded more and more, and I feel like also those things made us much stronger, or much more like a family. And even I remember at the beginning with her, it was not always easy to shoot, because like when she's telling you she's tired, you just have to stop the shooting. Yeah, like you can't do anything with a child. So it's it was like I always had to find somehow the right way, and but I felt like from this point on, when I was in prison, it was like her and me against the rest of the world. She was like, I feel like she saw how much I struggled. And then she was like, and she got throughout the whole shoot, she got better and better in acting and better. And she's also a person, she's not like, she isn't very open. She's very shy, and she can be very open and very loud, but it takes a lot of time. And and a lot of trust too. And I feel like throughout the shoot we did build up this trust, and that's why I mean, at the ending, throughout the whole movie, she performed very, very nice.
Yeah, I hope nothing bad happened to you in prison.
No, it was fine. It was really, it was fine. It was only a day.
Cool, cool. So yeah, I think we'll open it up to the audience for questions. Do we have a mic going around? Okay. Yeah.
Oh, should I go?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question about the sound design, because as you talked about before, you were involved in so many aspects of the film, and also involved in the scoring and the songs. The sound design is really incredible. The way sometimes it's orchestral, sometimes it's local music, sometimes it's really quiet, sometimes there's ambient sound of the community around them, and it really works. So I'm wondering how you were thinking of all the pieces coming together, and how you were do it in the editing room and all of that.
The sound, we didn't have like a boom mic, and also like the camera mic it didn't work because when you shoot at the beach, like I can have this distance to a person, but with the mic you don't hear anything because of the wind. And so we had two lavaliers, and then we always put the mics here, and we looked that there is like a wind, like that it's covering the wind, and so we always had good sound from here. And then what I did while I was editing on DaVinci Resolve, and then there was like a new audio effect which isolated their surroundings and only took the voices. And then I used this plugin, and then I downloaded a lot of surroundings, like the effect of the surroundings, and then I was able to have like this freedom of sometimes lower the sound in dialogues which are like very important, and then I really wanted you to be a part of this world, and sometimes I used a lot of sound. And the good thing is, like, when you usually, like with a bigger production, you have like the editing, and then you're done with editing, then you start with sound, or with the music and sound, which it's maybe like parallel. But the good thing here was, since everything was so contained and just with me, I was able to do things parallel. And then, for example, if I made a score, or Simon made a score, and we realized, the sound, maybe here it doesn't need a score, or maybe here we need a score, then we were just able to adjust everything. So I was just able to work parallel and do even the editing also at the same time, like re-edit to the sound. So that helped a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got time for one more question. One quick question, please. And then you can talk to Damien more outside. Yeah, we have a question over here.
Hi, Damien. Thank you. Hello,
Hi.
Damien. I was actually really curious as to the choice of the main character's name. I'm also an Aisha, and I find it's a very powerful name.
Yeah.
So, is there any reason why you chose that name for the character? Because I know it means life, and I felt like throughout the movie, they constantly called her name.
Mm-hmm.
And so, can you just talk about that?
Actually, that's also a funny story, because when I went to Kenya, I had many names, but then those were just names I knew from Bungoma, because I lived there half year in the east of Kenya. But then in the east, north. Oh no, sorry, west. In the west of Kenya. But then in the east they have maybe different names. In the east there are much more Muslim people. And so when I came, I had all those names, and then I just asked I asked just the husband of my cousin. I asked him if he could give me names, and then he just gave me many different names, and he didn't know what kind of names, but I knew if it's from his mind, then it will be names which are from the area. And then I just changed all the names, so it's how the people call each other in the coast. And so it was actually a coincidence. I didn't know that Aisha is called Life. But yeah, it's a beautiful name.
Okay, yeah, I think that's all the time we have. Thank you very much for coming out.
Yeah.
Thank you, Damien.
Thank you.
And yeah, you can catch him in the lobby. You can ask him lots more questions.
Yeah.
Thanks.